morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. I'm Neeraj Shah, and it's from a trade perspective, it's a mixed day of trade, you would have to say, because the cues that we had for ourselves on Friday weren't the best. We slipped in trade, remember? But I think while Asia is mixed, the Dow futures are doing okay, and therefore all of that should aid trade sentiment. The biggest stock point, though, continues to be yields, isn't it? And I'm just there are a couple of charts which we want to bring out, just showcasing what's happening on that front. So the Fed fund futures began pricing in earlier tightening, and remember there is a Fed policy this end. I will talk about that in a moment. So the Fed fund futures have been pricing in early tightening, and that's actually pretty interesting, despite the reassurances from the Fed governor, and we'll get to hear from him on Wednesday. But and the yields have inched up as well. I think we're back to about that 1.6 mark, that trend line that I've shown to you so many times. And yes, we bring it to you again. The 10-year yield reaches the 1.6 and rises to 1-year high yet again. So ahead of the event, there's a lot of excitement out there, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But keep in mind, all of this notwithstanding, the futures are trading in the green. Now, is that adding to a little bit of joy on the Asian bourses? I would say not necessarily. You have a mixed bag kind of a trade. KOSPI was flattish, ASX was flattish, some other indices were slightly lower in trade as well. So you don't really have a clear direction as to which way we will do. But could that improve if Europe starts off okay despite the lockdown measures there? And because of the Dow futures, time will tell. Similarly for the SGX Nifty, I mean, the SGX Nifty may indicate whatever, and we might indicate about 0.25% to 0.5% kind of a gain. Can things change once Europe begins? That's the key question. Keep in mind, viewers, Italy goes into a full-blown lockdown, so to say, starting today, and over the Easter weekend as well, they will be in a lockdown. So that is part one of the equation. And some of the other European countries, Poland, for example, or Czech Republic, have some fairly serious issues on the coronavirus front. We ourselves have 25,000 cases last evening, right? So we're not too safe either. So yeah, could this hit? Maybe it could. Now, what to watch out for this week? 2 or 3 key things from an Indian trade perspective. You have to keep in mind liquidity is a big thing, and 5 IPOs set to open for subscription this week. And Anupam Rasayan is already on. So the total amount is 3,764 crores for the 5 IPOs, and then add another whatever 600 odd crores from Anupam Rasayan's side. So northwards of 4,000 crores from the 6 companies which are going to raise. The point is the amount of liquidity that this 6,000 crores in an attempt to get this could suck out is the other big thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it shapes up. The spread of COVID across Europe and India is a problem, and the Fed policy meet on Wednesday is something that the street will be waiting with bated breath. The only point is, I don't know what more can the Fed governor say. I think Janet Yellen chipped in as well. She was doing some show for a private network, and she was quoted as saying this, that is there a risk of inflation? She said, I'm just quoting her, right? I'm just laying out the entire quote. Is there a risk for inflation? I think there is a small risk, and I think it's manageable. Some prices fell last year, will recover, but that's a temporary movement in prices. I don't think it's a significant risk. And if it materializes, we'll certainly monitor for it, but we have the tools to address it. So Janet Yellen, echoing what Jerome Powell has said, that one, there could be price movement upwards, but it won't be a secular move upwards. It may come off a bit later on, and it's not a risk. And if it materializes into a risk, the Fed and the US government believe they have the tools to tackle it. But the market in its wisdom, because it's trading at such high levels, tends to react a bit negatively as well to any such developments. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Until Wednesday, there could be a lot of volatility too. So what's the trade setup like? I think stocks will move in line with the global markets. So we'll start off higher, and then depending on what Europe does, we might actually move accordingly as well. So that's the easier thing to say. I think the banking stocks have looked slightly wobbly, and the bank Nifty can be a drag this week. A lot of derivative traders and the BQH event that we did on Saturday also suggested that there might be a good chance to open up some short positions on the bank Nifty today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And I think listed specialty chemical stocks, which are much cheaper than the IPOs which are coming out, may see some continuous buying. We've seen evidence of that over the last week. And multiple listed companies are doing con calls. Rosari Biotech did a con call speaking about their readiness and their new plant coming up. So a bunch of the listed specialty chemical names would actually continue to remain in focus. What are the stocks to watch out for this week and today, more importantly at 9:15 a.m.? I think I would probably start off with Tata Communications. The government of India is going to sell about 4.6 crore shares or 16% through an OFS. Post OFS, the remaining stake will be sold to Panaton Finvest, which is currently holding about 34.48% stake, and the government will cease to be a shareholder of Tata Communications. So could this be considered positive? Maybe. The point being, because it's being done at a large number, could this bring about some bit of a discount on the stock when the stake sale does happen? Sure, could happen. Should you use that to buy into the stock? Maybe you could. Please do some research about the valuations that it is trading at before you choose to buy. Read some research reports before you take that decision. If you don't find them anywhere else, some research reports could be in that BloombergQuint research report section too. But from whichever source you can figure out, try and read a bit about it before you take a trade. But yeah, Tata Communications could well be a stock that will be in focus today. I think I'll watch out for JSPL. The domestic sales have declined to the lowest level since April 2020, and monthly sales growth dropped for the second consecutive month, down about 6% during February. Now, keep in mind, viewers, while this news is bad and not as good, let me put it that way, the metal prices and the stock prices will move in tandem with how the commodity prices are doing and the sentiment thereof. So JSPL may not necessarily react only to this, but yeah, sure, there is a bit of a chink in the armor and you could have a bit of a reaction. So if JSPL reacts negatively, you know why it is doing that. I will keep an eye out on Tata Power, Power Finance Corporation, and BPCL by virtue of the price movements that happened into them late Friday. Tata Power had about a 5.5% uptick. There were some rumors or news about some Tesla approaching Tata Power for setting up stations. Now, you don't know what's right, what's wrong, but do watch out for Tata Power. Do watch out for PFC. There was some deal chatter which led to, and a brokerage note which led to PFC do well in the late trade and could do better. And BPCL actually surged a little bit in the second half of trade on Friday. Would be interesting to see what it does today, considering that the meeting for the dividends is slated to happen tomorrow. And I'll talk a bit about BPCL in just moments from now. But before that, a couple of other companies, an IPO update, if you will. Two IPO updates that I want to give. MTAR list today, and brokers expect the stock to actually rise post-listing. So it will probably have a great listing. I should have a good listing, let me put it that way. But most brokers that I spoke to believe that there could be some buying that could happen at listing and then the stock could inch up higher. So do watch out for that stock, and do watch out for Lakshmi Organic. The IPO opens for subscription today and it's expected to see some very strong demand. So even for listing gains, I think a lot of brokers have advised that you should invest into Lakshmi Organics, but seemingly it's not that exorbitantly priced a company as compared to some of the others. And therefore, you might want to look at it seriously from an investing perspective too. Brokerage is at least expect that the demand will be strong for Lakshmi Organic. So that is something that you need to watch out for. By the way, you can read the all you need to know copy on our website about Lakshmi Organic since the IPO opens today. Amongst brokerage notes, a couple of them on Orient Electric, Motilal Oswal has come out with a note. They've initiated coverage on the stock with a buy rating. The target price is 350, which is an upside of 19%. They believe or forecasting revenue, EBITDA, and PAT growth of 26%, 18%, and 21% respectively over FY21 to 23. So not bad. The price is 19 or 20% higher. If you believe that the logic is true from Motilal Oswal stable, then you might want to invest in it. Do try and read up the report again, as I said, before you take the investing decision. But yeah, this is a one small cap stock that could be in focus. And like I mentioned, I'll wrap up with BPCL, and I would want to do that. So JP Morgan note on BPCL is interesting. Viewers, just hear me out carefully. They are saying that the dividend of rupees 60 per share, which could be a belief that people might have because people might calculate the total dividend of the treasury stake sale as well as the Numaligarh refinery sale. Now, they are saying because of the EGM to approve Numaligarh transaction is due to take place on 25th, tomorrow's meeting will only take into account the treasury stake sale, and therefore they believe the dividend will not be 60 per share but 26 per share. Because it's more likely that only the treasury stake sale is distributed as dividend, which, by the way, according to JPM calculations, comes to about 26 rupees per share, which is about 6% of current market price. So viewers, keep in mind that there's a lot of chatter on social media about why the future is trading at a discount to the spot. and because it will price in the dividend, and if dividend doesn't come to the futures holders, then the base stock might be higher but the futures might be lower. You have to keep in mind that the law suggests that if the dividend amount is more than 5% of the current market price, then the futures lot adjusts itself so that the future holder does not incur a loss. And therefore, you have to look out for the dividend amount. If it is more than 5%, and if it's 26 rupees, then it will be more than 5%, because I doubt that the BPCL share price will go significantly higher than 500 rupees in the very immediate term until tomorrow. And therefore, it will be more than 5%. And therefore, the futures will not trade at a significant discount to the spot, or any discount to the spot for that matter. So please keep that calculation in mind. It is very important from a trade perspective for BPCL, because I know that the trading activity on BPCL will be very, very high for the next few days because of this dividend. And that's it. That's all that I wanted to say. I know there's a lot of, again, talk about will they keep another AGM for the Numaligarh refinery stake as well. Now, who knows? We just work with the current assumptions, which is that there is a board meet tomorrow, and in all probability, they will only take into account the treasury stake sale. But even that, from the back of the envelope calculations of JP Morgan, seems to be higher than the 5% mark. Lots of stocks to monitor today. The index to be monitored today. Remember, the only one good part is that the US futures are trading well, and that should provide some respite. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup today. Have a great day ahead.